Good morning. Good morning to all of you on this beautiful day in, is it July? Still July? Lois and I have been gone for about 5 weeks. It's hard to keep up. What month is it? What day is it? This is Sunday, just in case you were wondering. Well, we're looking forward to hearing from our wonderful member and former federal magistrate, Valerie Cooke, about the treatment of prisoners here in Nevada. And we're delivering this service here at the fellowship. We're on Zoom. And for many, they will tune in later in the archives. Now we're glad to be with you today for another time of reflection and introspection. I'm Dave Bianchi, your worship associate, and I'm looking forward to this service. Now, if you're new to us, know that we're a welcoming community and that we care deeply for all people, regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Our mission is to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. Mass here at the fellowship are once again optional, so we respect one another's decision about face coverings and social distancing. Those of you on Zoom will remain muted during the service, but you can put comments in the chat box. And there'll be a coffee time on Zoom following the service to stay up with one another and enjoy each other's company and conversation. So, no matter where you are today, sit back, enjoy, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning to all of you and to those of you on Zoom. It's just an honor to be here today. My name is Valerie Cooke, and I'm a retired United States Magistrate Judge for the District of Nevada. That's the federal court as opposed to the state court. And so in that capacity, I did a lot of work regarding inmate litigation concerning conditions of confinement. As Unitarian Universalists, our fellowship believes in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And today we're focusing on those incarcerated in Nevada's prisons. Our country has the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. 1,215,800 people, or 21.5% of the world's population, incarcerated prison population. In Nevada, the Nevada Department of Corrections, or the NDOC, has an inmate population of about 14,000 people at any given time, scattered throughout 11 prisons. 13,000 men and 900 women on account of the men's prefrontal lobotomy has not fully developed in their 20s, so that accounts for that, in my opinion. Anyway, the NDOC employs 2,739 people to run our prisons, from medical staff and the culinary to the corrections officers who are on the tiers and in the yards. However, the current vacancy rate for corrections officers is 39%. due to working conditions, low wages, the pandemic, and the promise of, yes, better jobs. People are leaving in droves. This morning, we are going to explore the issue of conditions of confinement, which is when an inmate brings the constitutional claim about violations of constitutional rights while confined to federal court. We will talk about the incredible challenges facing inmates to bring their claims to the federal court. And then we'll talk about what's happened in the last 10 years or so, because the Attorney General's Office of the state of Nevada, the federal courts, and the NDOC have taken steps to try to more fairly and speedily resolve these cases, which, trust me, stretch on for years until they are decided. Right now, in the federal courts, there are about 3,300 civil cases pending. Of that 3,300 civil cases, as opposed to criminal cases, 600 are filed by inmates without legal representation. And that doesn't include the 314 habeas cases, including death penalty cases, in which inmates are asking the courts to overturn their convictions. So you can see that the federal court has its hands full when it comes to incarceration. Let us now walk through security, place our possessions in lockup, go through the barred doors. No one should be wearing denim because that's what the inmates wear. And welcome to the world of Nevada prisons.
I've asked Adrian Fisher to light our chalice today. And those that are on Zoom can hopefully have their chalice in place and lit as we say the following words. Our second UU principle calls on us to acknowledge justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. As we light our chalice today, let us remember the victims of crimes and their families, the people imprisoned for those crimes, and those judges, lawyers, and corrections administrators working to bring justice, equity, and compassion to the incarcerated. And we will get this lit. There it goes.
Let's try this again.
Thank you, Adrian. This has no reflection on your presidency this year. I just want you to know. This is also the time of our service when we offer our bounties to each other to continue the positive and far-reaching outreach of our fellowship and the greater community. A basket will be circulated for those of us here, and those on Zoom or even those of you here can text 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send. You can also mail a check right here to 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno 89511, or better yet, sign up for automatic giving or just call the office and Carol will send you that form. It's simple and a convenient way to give. And each month, we select a nonprofit to share our plate with. And this month, for the second month in a row, we're donating to Wild West Access Fund of Nevada. And this is the last week, because we'll have a new one next week. So the goal of the Wild West Access Fund is to create a permanent resource for Nevadans in need of abortion care. Until June of 2021, Nevada was just one of 5 states without an established fund. So this was formed because the co-founders believed that everyone should have the final say in their reproductive decisions and that power resides in our communities. So this is a great new organization that was just formed, and so please, please give generously. Will the ushers please come forward? Please join David and me as we bless the offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
Will you restore
So, you're in prison. My first admonition to you is don't commit a crime because you do not wish to go to prison. Okay. What happens to you in prison and something unjust happens to you and violates your constitutional rights, which don't just fly out the door when you enter prison, you still have certain rights. Do you retain a lawyer? Or does the court appoint one to represent you? Oh, no, no, no. Lawyers are only appointed in criminal cases, and absent very, very extraordinary circumstances, lawyers will not volunteer to take a case about an inmate's conditions of confinement. So what are your rights? Well, there are about 12 steps. So let's say you are at Northern Nevada Correction Center, which is the regional medical facility in Carson City for all inmates who have medical conditions or are severely disabled, and also the geriatric population who will live out their lives in prison. So you cannot just file a lawsuit in federal court. Cannot do that. First, you have to go through 3 steps inside the prison. Now let's take the example of these 2 inmates. One is named David and one is named Diego. They are at Northern Nevada Correctional Center because they have medical problems. David has severe Parkinson's disease, and so he has to stay there, and he has, of course, terrible tremors and can't get his meds until 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So Diego, on the other hand, has been in and out of prison all of his life and got cancer, and so has just a few feet of intestines left. So what this means is that he has to be very careful and deliberate in eating, because if he eats too fast, he soils himself. So at NNCC, they had a program in place where if you qualified, you could go to the cafeteria, go to Chow, and get your breakfast tray, for example, and take it back to your cell and eat in your cell. Now, this worked for David because the 15 minutes allotted for eating his breakfast was not enough because he couldn't get the food to his mouth in a timely manner. As for Diego, Diego could not dash down and sit down and wolf down his breakfast in 15 minutes because the obvious would occur, and did. He would soil himself. So this accommodation was created for folks like David and Diego. Well, one day, someone at Northern Nevada Correctional Center decided, these people do not need to do this. They can come to the cafeteria in the morning like everyone else. And a notice went up saying, starting tomorrow, everybody has to go to Chow, no more breakfast trays, forget it. So David and Diego filed the first step in the grievance process. They filed an informal grievance, which is a piece of paper you give to the sergeant in your unit, and you say, here's my problem, please reinstate this, thank you very much. And the prison has 45 days to respond to that request, which seems like a long time, but they get thousands of grievances a month. So then the informal grievance is denied. You're fine. So then they are required within 5 days to file a first level grievance, which says, I'm appealing your decision. I really need this accommodation. Please give it to me. And another 45 days will pass. And the grievance is denied again. So then you have to file a second level grievance. So informal, first, second, okay? And you say, hello, we really weren't kidding. We're losing a lot of weight here because we can't eat. And so they go through the same old thing, and 45 days or so pass, and the grievance is denied. And now the plaintiffs, David and Diego, can file a lawsuit in federal court. You have to exhaust those administrative remedies in prison because otherwise the U.S. Supreme Court said there would be millions and millions of inmate lawsuits, and really it should be the prisons who try to fix these troubles because they're the folks who are supposed to know what to do, right? Okay, so you get a piece of paper, a form, and you file your civil rights lawsuit. And then you also file an application to ask the court, please, court, don't make me pay the $350 filing fee because I don't have any money. Okay? I got nothing. All right. And typically, the court will process that and grant the request right away. Now, so that's great, right? But then on the other hand, you are on the hook for that $350, win, lose, or draw, okay? And so what happens is that money, that like $1.50 a month, starts getting taken out of your inmate account until the end of time, until you pay it all back, okay? So anyhow, so you go ahead and then you file your lawsuit, you file your application to get the waiver of the filing fee, and then you wait. Why do you wait? You wait because the staff attorneys in the federal court have a stack of inmate cases, complaints, and they have to screen them to see if you state a viable claim for relief. And you, gentlemen, are going to wait another year before it's screened because the federal courts don't have enough money to have staff attorneys to pay them to do this work, okay? So then so your complaint gets screened, okay? And a staff attorney comes into you and says, Judge, there's a little problem here. It seems like these people are starving to death because they can't eat. Okay. In the olden days, if that happened, that was too bad, wasn't it? Because what would happen is you would immediately proceed with federal litigation, like the lawyers do, okay? And that means the court would issue an order saying, okay, people, you've got 6 months to do discovery, which is interrogatories, blah, 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 stuff like that, document production. And then the defendant, the AG, can file a motion to end the case. Okay, so that's 6 months. Okay, so a year, okay, and then it gets screened, and then 6 months of discovery, and then filing the motion to end the case. So motion, opposition, reply, and then that goes on the judge's desk. And so, depending on, things, might be 6 months before the judge is able to decide that. And then the judge decides it, and then the judge says, well, I'm going to deny the motion to end the case because this looks like a pretty serious deal here. And before we set this for trial, by the way, the trial would probably be another 9 months out, maybe a year. Before we do that, I'm going to have a settlement conference, and I'm going to ask Judge Cooke to have a settlement conference. And so I would have the NDOC folks come in, and I'd have the deputy attorney generals. Nowadays, the inmates appear on Zoom on account of they don't want to be rolled up, which means your stuff is rolled up and you might end up in another prison. Well, it's a long story, but you don't want to be rolled up, just trust me. Anyway, so they appear. And then you try and settle the case. And of course, in the meantime, these inmates have sort of, lost some weight and have severe health problems and so on. Well, this seemed like a really bad way to run the railroad, okay? And so what happened was this. Some of us thought, this is crazy. This is crazy. And everybody's inundated. The courts are inundated with these cases. The courts hate the NDOC people. The NDOC people hate the court. Everybody hates the Attorney General's office. And we've all got to spend time and money and forget about the inmate. Did you notice? Forget about the inmate? Yeah. No. Okay. So anyhow, what happened is a group of us got together and we had to sit down and talk with one another. I know. We had to collaborate. And it was just shocking because I really hated all of the NDOC people. I just hated them. And the deputy AGs, idiots, come on. Anyway, so we had to be nice to each other and talk about how could we try and fix this. And so we did the best we could. And the best we could was this. Now, keep in mind, the inmate grievance procedure, the 3 grievance, 3-step, blah, 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 AR 740, we can't touch that as the court because the Supreme Court has said, no, that has to stay in place before you people can come into federal court because you're killing us with all your cases. Anyway, so we can't fix that, but this is what, and then, I'm sorry to say, we couldn't fix the delay with screening the complaint to see if it states a claim because the lawyers are doing the best they can to get through all of these, right? Right, okay. So, but what happens now is once the complaint is screened, the request to have the filing fee waived is stayed. It's stopped. It says, we'll think about that later. And why would we do that? Well, because oftentimes, if you're ready to settle a case, the inmate said, the judge thinks I was right, and I want someone to pay $350 because that's killing me. I can't buy anything in the canteen. And so we stay that. And then we say, you're going to an early inmate mediation. And then what you do is if you're a judge, you just start calling people you know on the phone who are lawyers. And you say, would you like to be a volunteer mediator for the federal court? I'll train you. And they say yes, because of course they have to say yes, right? And so we get panels of mediators in Las Vegas, in Reno. And so the case gets referred to mediation. The other thing that happens is all of that discovery and the motion practice and all that hoo-ha stopped. No doing that. Do you know how to draft interrogatories? Do you know how to file an opposition to a motion for summary judgment? No. Well, think about the inmate. I can't talk about the law libraries. Okay, it's never, just don't want to talk about that. Okay, wait, wait, I'm having a moment. I'm going to get back on track any second here. Okay, so you have a mediation, and the AG and an NDOC official has to show up, and the inmate appear, and you try and settle the case. And now we don't have this big fight about the $350 because the NDOC never wants to pay that. Now, or no. Anyway, however way you say it, it's still no. And so they don't want to pay that. So you're having to fight about that. And then, but you settle the case. If you settle the case, then there's a settlement agreement. Everybody signs off on it, and the case is over. And there's no IFP. The application for the $350 is moot, right? Okay. So this is what happened to David and Diego. They go through the screening process, but before the complaint is fully screened, the staff attorney comes into a certain judge, me, says, Judge Cooke, can I chat with you for a minute? This one seems kind of bad, this case, I mean. And so I read the complaint, and I say, we're setting a hearing this week. The Attorney General, Deputy AGs will be here, and the Director of the NNCC, the warden, will also be present in court. And so the inmates appear via video, and they walk in. And I'm looking at them like, okay, what? What is the deal? What? I didn't say, what are you thinking? But apparently my body language gave enough of an idea about my feelings on the matter that the warden said, Judge, we've rescinded that order. It's been between Monday and Friday. It's been reinstated. It was a miracle. Yeah, it was a miracle. And so then they don't have to pay, the $350's off the table. And so then what you're thinking to yourself is, what about these two guys? I don't care what they did. And I can't remember. I've had so many inmate cases, I don't remember what anyone's done. Well, except there's this one guy, but anyway. He did never mind, I digress. Sorry, Dave. Anybody, cut me off. I talk to people in the audience about that. Okay, so anyhow, so I say, you folks need to work this out about, these two who have gone for a year and a half, maybe? 2? I don't know. And so, okay, so you think they are entitled to millions of dollars. Oh, you people, so naive. Money in prison is not the same as the outside money. They aren't getting millions. This is an idea of what they would get. They'd each get $500 to put in their Trust 2 account, which means that the prison can't touch it for medical or other assessments. So it's their money to buy as much top ramen as they want, which is a big seller. Anyway, and they get their Trust 1 account, their bills for all of their medical proceedings and so forth. Those are waived, which they're never going to pay anyway, right? I mean, because nobody has any money, but it makes people feel good. And then, so we fashion something so they can go see the respective specialists outside the prison to get an evaluation about their current medical condition, and we settle the case. Now, is this perfect? No. If you have any ideas about the grievance procedure, see me afterwards, okay? Because, oh, I dropped my glasses. Anyway, just see me afterward, because I mean, it's so frustrating. But what we've been able to do through this process is help people sooner, resolve cases that deserve to be resolved. Some don't. Some don't deserve to be. I get it. Trust me. Trust me. I had one guy who filed 39 cases. Okay. Anyway, I'm retired now, so too bad. Anyway, so I'm just telling you that when we think about justice in our country and the fair, speedy, inexpensive resolution of conflict, which is the law in federal court, it's the first rule, Rule 1 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, we have to aspire to that. We aren't going to make it perfectly, as you see, but we have a chance. We have a chance to work together. And now, I like the NDOC people. I just met with the new warden a couple weeks ago, a very nice guy, dedicated to corrections, not prison, corrections. The Attorney General has been wonderful. Well, there was one in between who wasn't so great, but Catherine Cortez Masto was fab. And then Aaron Ford's fab. But because they're willing to talk to us, they're willing to sit down, and the judges now are willing to sit down and think, oh, well, okay, let's think of something new. Who could have thought of it? So anyway, it is one of the most rewarding jobs and projects that I've had the honor of participating in, because at least you feel you move the arc of justice a little bit closer to resolution. So if anyone would like to become a magistrate judge, it's a really great job, everyone. Okay, kids over there. Okay, you too. Come on. You could be me. Well, never mind. Okay, so that's the end of my thing. Blessed be. May it be so. And I got to get my glasses.
When we have an opportunity for prayer and meditation. Folks who are on Zoom can put their prayers and meditation comments in the chat box. And following our remarks, you can have some quiet time to think about what is important to you, Valerie.
Please join me in closing your eyes with David and me in prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, to those imprisoned here in Nevada and throughout the world, whether on death row at Ely State Prison, those women incarcerated at Florence McClure in Las Vegas, or the geriatric inmates who will live out their final years in prison. May they be surrounded with peace and compassion, and may each of them endeavor to transform their lives. Please say, may it be so.
May it be so. To the victims of crime who have suffered untold sorrow and pain, may they find peace and reconciliation in their hearts. Please say, may it be so.
May it be so. To the NDOC personnel and administrators who must do so much with so little to provide the most basic human needs for inmates: safe shelter, decent food, medical care, spiritual opportunities. May they persevere with patience and respect for the dignity of each human being under their care. Please say, may it be so.
May it be so. To the lawyers and judges committed to addressing the thousands of conditions of confinement cases in our country, may they continue to collaborate with NDOC officials to fashion a process for the just, inexpensive, and speedy resolutions of these cases. Please say, may it be so.
May it be so. Finally, we remember with compassion all people, victims, criminals, all people affected by violence and imprisonment, so that victims and inmates alike shall not be forgotten. Please say, may it be so.
May it be so.
Blessed be, and amen.
Just a couple of final announcements. For those on Zoom, stay on for coffee time to visit with friends. And secondly, and my last announcement, Reverend Karen's going to be back next week. We're really looking forward to that. She and Philip Moore, who's in the back, are going to continue their discussion of the 4 agreements. So we'll be looking forward to that. And now, standing on the side of love.
And now for our benediction. May we live our UU principle that acknowledges the interconnected web of life and embrace with love, compassion, and a clear sense of justice those who are imprisoned, those who are victims of crime, those who work in prisons, and those committed to collaborating across the web of life to resolve conflicts about conditions of confinement. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.